Hi, my name is Johanna. Welcome to my channel. I just want to put a disclaimer at the beginning of this video to any current Jehovah's Witnesses that I know that the society tells you that you're not supposed to be associating with former Jehovah's Witnesses due to disfellowshipping and disassociating. I just want to put it out there that I have not been disfellowshipped, that I have not been disassociated. I was never baptized as a Jehovah's Witness. So if that's something that concerns you as a Jehovah's Witness, that you're trying to follow the rules and stay on the straight and narrow and make sure that you don't associate with people who are disfellowshipped or have been disfellowshipped, that you don't have to worry about watching this channel, since that isn't something that I've ever had to deal with. I did grow up as a Jehovah's Witness, and I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness for the first almost 18 years of my life. But I'm not somebody that the society would consider someone that you're not allowed to associate with. So I guess the reason why I'm making this video is because I've seen a lot of videos out there from former Jehovah's Witnesses, and I feel like as I was watching those videos, I realized that people who were in my situation weren't really being accurately represented. A lot of former Jehovah's Witnesses seem to have bad blood with current Jehovah's Witnesses, or since they were disfellowshipped, they're not allowed to have relationships with them, or they have a problem with the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society as a whole. And I don't really have a problem with Jehovah's Witnesses, even though there are some things about the society that I take issue with. It doesn't stop me from appreciating Jehovah's Witnesses as a whole, because I do think that there's a lot of really good things that Jehovah's Witnesses do, and a lot of the way that they are that I do appreciate. So I'm not anti-Jehovah's Witness, and I don't plan on bashing Jehovah's Witnesses if that's something that you're concerned about. I think that there's plenty of channels out there that already have such negative things to say that if that's what you're after, that you will have more than ample videos to watch to support that idea. What I'd like to do instead is kind of open a dialogue between current Jehovah's Witnesses and non-witnesses, people that they consider worldly, even former Jehovah's Witnesses, as long as we're willing to have kind of a civil dialogue about it. I think that we can all get on the same page, because as someone who's spent a lot of time in both worlds, as a Jehovah's Witness and as a non-witness, I think that I kind of have a unique perspective of being able to kind of bridge the gap between both worlds. And I would like to be able to open a dialogue. So as long as you're willing to be civil, whatever questions you have, I'll be happy to answer them, from current Jehovah's Witnesses wondering about what it's like to be worldly, or from non-witnesses wondering what it's like to be a Jehovah's Witness. I'd be happy to answer whatever questions that I can. I am by no means an expert, as I was never a Jehovah's Witness as an adult. I didn't spend a great deal of time around Jehovah's Witnesses as an adult. So there are some things that I won't be able to answer, but there's a lot of other great resources out there of former Jehovah's Witnesses that can answer questions that I'm not able to. But if you do have a question, please leave me a comment below and let me know. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of get right into my background to let you know a little bit more about myself, and then maybe in the next video we can go into detail a little bit about why I left and that whole story of me leaving, and a little bit about why I haven't gone back. But to start off with, I think I just want to make this video about kind of my background for people to reference if they want to know, be able to understand some of the stories that I tell a little bit better. I was born in Kansas City, Missouri in 1987. I have two older sisters, so I was the youngest of three. We moved around a lot before we settled where I currently live. I live in central eastern New Mexico in a small city called Clovis. And we settled here in 1993. I don't have a whole lot of memories before 1993, but what I do remember is that we moved around a lot. We didn't settle very long in any particular place. We lived in a few little towns on the edge of Kansas and in Missouri. And we mainly lived in Nebraska. I lived at home with my parents until 2005. I graduated high school in December of 2004, a semester early, and by mid-2005, I was no longer living with my parents. I had moved in with a family that took me in, and then I moved with that family. I moved out of their house into the house that I currently live in, with who would eventually end up being my husband and his parents. So I moved out of my parents' house in 2005, and by 2006, I was married. So it was pretty quick, but it was considered a long engagement in my family. Even though I was only engaged for a little less than a year, that was much, much longer than the other engagements in my family. My oldest sister was engaged for a couple of days before they got married. It was a very, very short engagement. They had actually only known each other for a few months. My other sister, who's 2 years older than me, she met her husband and they were married in less than 6 weeks. So that just shows you how quickly people in my family tend to meet their spouses and get married. We don't have a lot of divorces in my family. In fact, within my immediate family, I can only think of one divorce, and that is one of my sisters. Her first marriage didn't work out. They were only married for 3 or 4 years, and then they got divorced, and she remarried in 2011, and she's been married to the same man for 8 years. I have 2 older sisters, one who's 4 years older than me, one who's 2 years older than me, and they both have children, and they've both been married for quite some time. I've been married since 2006, so we're coming up on our 13th anniversary. So there's quite a history of long marriages in our family, even though we tend to get married very young. I was only 19 when I got married. I had just turned 19. So even I got married very young. I'm the only person in my family who doesn't have children. So that's also kind of unusual for my family. My mom was not born in as a Jehovah's Witness, but she was raised as a Jehovah's Witness for most of her life. She was, I think, 5 or 6 when her mother got divorced and remarried, and she became a Jehovah's Witness. So my mom was raised as a Jehovah's Witness since about age 5. And all of her siblings were raised as Jehovah's Witnesses. My dad was born in. He's one of 3 boys, and he was raised from birth as a Jehovah's Witness. So we have all been raised as Jehovah's Witnesses. My parents got married in 1982. They had gotten pregnant, so they got married in August of 1982, and they had my sister May 1st, 1983. So they got married very young too. My mom was 17. She was a few months away from being 18. I think my dad was 21. But they've been married since that time. They've never been divorced, and as far as I know, they've never been separated. Now, I don't have a relationship with my parents. I'm on no contact with them. But that's my personal decision. That doesn't have anything to do with Jehovah's Witnesses as an organization. That's a personal decision that I made this year to stop having a relationship with them. And I will be getting into a little bit more, but that's such a long story and it's so complicated that that's not really something that I want to delve into in the first video. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. I've been living in Clovis, New Mexico since 1993. So most of my stories will have taken place in central eastern New Mexico. Now, as far as growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, there were actually 3 total congregations. There was one Spanish congregation because that's a very popular language in New Mexico. And then there were 2 other congregations separated by what part of town you lived in. So there was the North congregation and the South congregation. So we were in the North congregation because we lived on the north end of town. That's just a little bit about myself, about give you a little bit of time frames, maybe something to reference back to. If you have any questions about the stories that I'm going to be telling later on, it might be good to kind of understand a little bit without having to delve too deep into what I'm talking about. So again, if you have any questions, please leave me a comment below. Let me know if you want me to expound on something or you have any questions about anything. Like I said, I plan on making several videos telling my story. So if you want to know more about something, please let me know. And I'll catch you next time.